Good evening and welcome to NEWSBREAK Live. I'm Hibah. Thanks for joining us. A traffic collision shut down an intersection for 2 hours. A non-injury traffic incident with a Torrance Police Department unit led eastbound Sepulveda Boulevard from Palos Verdes Boulevard to shut down. One of the vehicles hit a unit that controls a water pump. CHP is on scene for the traffic investigation. Officials say that neighboring residents may experience lower water pressure for a bit. No injuries were reported. Commuters, brace yourself for some traffic impacts. The Anza Avenue rehab project is underway from 190th Street to Del Amo Boulevard. Crews are working on fixing the roadway by grinding and overlay. There will also be localized repairs of damaged sidewalks, curbs, gutters, and driveways. The first phase is on the Anza and the second one from Del Amo Boulevard to Sepulveda. One lane of traffic will remain open in each direction at all times, but drivers are encouraged to avoid the area. Now lane closures are from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Construction will continue through April. Charities across Los Angeles County received more than $2 million in grants to combat food insecurity in the region. According to the hunger relief charity Feeding America, nearly 1.3 million Angelenos go hungry, and that's why the state awarded 7 grants countywide to help eliminate food waste. $2.1 million from the California Department of Resources, Recycling and Recovery under its new Food Waste Prevention and Rescue Grant Program is being awarded to the list of organizations you see on the screen. The program is part of California's strategy to combat climate change. The organizations will use the funds to help find strategies to eliminate nearly 6 million tons of food waste that ends up in landfills in California each year. Food Forward has donated to facilities in Torrance, including the Bartlett Senior Center. We recently brought you news that a local company is paving the way to help sickle cell disease patients. And now Emmaus Life Sciences announced that it has a Medicaid drug rebate agreement with the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, allowing coverage of Undari, a new treatment that was recently released by Emmaus that reduces the symptoms of sickle cell disease. All states currently provide coverage for outpatient prescription drugs under such agreements to all eligible Medicaid enrollees within their state Medicaid programs. Undari is the first new treatment approved by the FDA for pediatric patients 5 years of age and older with the disease. It's also the first new treatment approved by the FDA in nearly 20 years for adult patients. Emmaus Life Sciences, Inc. works on discovering, developing, and commercialization of innovative treatments and therapies for rare diseases. Torrance Memorial Medical Center is celebrating life in a new way. They've created this selfie wall that welcomes little ones with a photo op, but it gets better. The hospital has also installed a chime each time a baby is born. The Maternal Child Health Services Clinical Director says the chime encourages staff, patients, and visitors to pause and take a moment to acknowledge and celebrate new life. The pictures are of Maria Gallardo and her baby boy, Gabrielle. The Del Amo Fashion Center announced today that once again a traveling cafe is returning to Torrance. The Hello Kitty Cafe is coming back this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Fashion Center's courtyard near the AMC Theaters. The traveling cafe sells various exclusive treats and limited edition collectibles, including all new box cookie sets, stainless steel Hello Kitty Cafe thermal bottles, and much more. Fans can also get their hands on a 4-piece Petite Fours box set, 5-piece macaroon box set, and much more. To date, 2 Hello Kitty Cafe trucks have traveled to more than 60 cities across both coasts. You can follow the Hello Kitty Cafe truck on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you're traveling through San Diego, you can now enjoy a local brewery from Torrance. Absolution Brewing Company has opened their second location in La Joya after brewing in Torrance for nearly 4 years. The beer company is calling their new spot Absolution by the Sea Restaurant. It's taking the place of another brewery that closed down in La Joya. Absolution has grown to a 15-barrel brew house in Torrance. They have a long list of IPAs and other specialty beers. To follow their journey, head to absolutionbrewingcompany.com. And with the highly anticipated Super Bowl weekend around the corner, football fans are ready to eat and watch the game. Various restaurants are offering discounts and specials. BJ's Restaurant Brewhouse is offering game day deals available at their bar. Black Angus Steakhouse is having its all-day Sunday happy hour. Domino's and Pizza Hut are also offering deals. The Super Bowl game is set for 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's the 52nd year of the Super Bowl, and the Philadelphia Eagles and New England Patriots are set to play. If you dine at a local eatery tonight, you'll be giving back to a family in need. The Torrance Police Officers Association is hosting a fundraising event for 7-year-old Cole Ziello, who is a grandson of Torrance Police Department dispatcher Denise Shores. Ziello was in a car accident that left him in a coma for several days. Tonight, his family and other community members will gather at Elephant Bar on Hawthorne Boulevard. The fundraiser will help with Cole's extensive rehabilitation. It will start at 6 p.m. and continue until 10 p.m. If you can't attend, you can donate at caring.com/ColesQuest. Now let's get to the weather. Today sure felt like summer. There was a high of 79 with an expected low of 57 tonight. Then on Wednesday, it'll be partly cloudy with a high of 75 degrees and expected low of 54. On Thursday, we'll stay around 74 with a low of 54 once again. A popular eatery is recalling their products. Panera Bread announced concerns over its packets of cream cheese after samples were found to have listeria. No illnesses have been reported, but the company has issued the recall as a precaution. 5 types have been pulled from cafes across the country. Listeria can cause symptoms such as nausea, abdominal pain, diarrhea, fever, and headaches. The affected cream cheese packages have the expiration date of on or before April 2nd. For the first time in 152 years, you'll be able to experience a rare super blue blood moon tomorrow. This happens when a blood moon and a total eclipse occur all at the same time. And living in the West Coast, you'll have the best seats to see the celestial trifecta. And you won't need any special glasses like you would for solar eclipses or special equipment. As a supermoon, the moon will appear 14% bigger and 30% brighter. NASA says that anyone living in the West Coast will have a spectacular view from start to finish. You'll be able to see the full eclipse at 4:51 in the morning. It will peak at 5:30 and last for a little over half an hour. The last time a total lunar eclipse aligned with a blue moon was in 1866. And if you missed this year's super blue blood moon, the next one won't be until December 31st, 2028. And before the next half of NEWSBREAK Live, here are some events you'll want to mark on your calendar for this week. The Joel Gaines and Friends will perform this Friday at the George Nakano Theater. It's part of the Torrance Cultural Arts Foundation Studio Cabaret Series. It's from 7:30 to 10 p.m. on Friday. You can buy tickets at torrancearts.org. Then you can enjoy a learning experience this Saturday at 11 a.m. Young artists are invited to learn various styles and techniques from the teacher artists of the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, also known as LACMA. The program is free, but registration is required. It'll take place at the Katie Geiser Civic Center Library. Well, in just 2 minutes, Dr. Wallavan Sivakumar from Pacific Neuroscience Institute here in Torrance will talk to me about its facility and how they're helping to save lives. We'll be back in just a few.
Coastline Craft Brews. Yep, this is Southern California, but this is Torrance. Have you ever driven to a whole other city just for a bowl of ramen? Because if you haven't, that's about to change. Have you ever been to a beach that feels so much like your own private beach that you're like, where has this been all my life? Welcome, my friends, to Torrance Beach. So private, you hadn't even heard of it. Have you ever been to a mall that had literally 2.7 million square feet of shopping? Run, don't walk to Del Amo Fashion Center. And get this, Torrance is the actual epicenter of the South Bay's craft brew industry. I guess you could say the brews are just craftier here. We also have a farmer's market that's just as much about the people as it is about the food. And even our museum scene is the best of the South Bay. All this just 15 minutes from LAX. You'll come for the city, stay for the experience, and leave as a friend. So, are you in?
So there you are, shuffling through a stack of resumes and you come to mine. This is it. First impression. My way in. But here's the thing. Can my resume show you how I truly stand out? Can one piece of paper really tell you my whole story? Like that I was studying, going to night school while working 2 jobs just to help my parents pay for groceries. Or how anytime there was an opportunity, I was the first one to step up. Because I wasn't gonna let my life, my circumstances dictate who I was gonna become. And all of that determination, the commitment, the drive, that's me. And that's something you just can't put on paper. Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent like me.
Welcome back to the second half of NEWSBREAK Live, and joining me is Director of Neurosurgery, Dr. Wallavan Sivakumar from the Pacific Neuroscience Institute here in Torrance. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Hibah. It's great to be here.
And there are so many stories we can talk about when it comes to Pacific Neuroscience Institute, but first off, for the viewers, tell us about the opening here recently and its connection with Providence Little Company and Mary Medical Center.
Sure. Our group is a group of neurosurgeons, neurologists, ear, nose, and throat surgeons, radiologists, who came together to form this group to provide comprehensive neuroscience care. And we recently formed a partnership here with Providence Little Company and Mary Medical Center, both Torrance and San Pedro, and they've been great to us. We work primarily out of Little Company and Mary Torrance, and when we officially signed the agreement and moved to our clinics here into Torrance, we had this large launch party that was, visited by many of the higher ups and the key personnel within the Torrance government, etc. And they welcomed us into the community, and it's been wonderful.
How many months has it been?
So we technically have been in agreement since about September, but we've been coming by and working at Little Company from about March. It started getting really busy from about July on.
Okay. This is such a unique facility here in the South Bay, and it's actually one of the only facilities of its type here in the community. So I really want to emphasize on that, and if you can tell our viewers what that means.
Sure. So from the standpoint of neuroscience care, up until pretty recently, the majority of complex cases, either in neurosurgery, ear, nose, and throat, neurology, or neuroradiology, has been transferred up to places like UCLA, USC, or down to Orange County. And in Los Angeles, it's a big deal. Even 15 minutes or 15 miles could be an hour and a half, 2 hours in traffic. And for patients with these serious neurological disorders, it's a big deal. And so the idea of bringing comprehensive contemporary care here to allow patients to receive the entirety of their care in the South Bay seemed really attractive. And we think, and has been shown, really something that the city has appreciated so far.
And there's been a lot of recent cases where stroke patients have been transferred over to this facility, and I bet you could say their lives have been saved because of the distance here in the South Bay.
Yeah, no, definitely. With stroke, we really think about the mantra as being time is brain. And up until recently, there hasn't been any comprehensive stroke centers here in the South Bay. Patients typically were found, and when they were found at these outside smaller hospitals to have these complex strokes, they'd have to be transferred up to, as I mentioned, a comprehensive stroke center in different parts of Los Angeles. And you can imagine something like having a stroke at about rush hour, having about an hour to 2 hour drive up to the nearest comprehensive stroke center. In stroke, there's windows of treatment of only a few hours. And as of about January 8th, we formally became the only Los Angeles County certified comprehensive stroke center down here in the South Bay. And even since that time, the response has been amazing.
But there are many other services and rehab treatments that the facility offers. So tell me about that. It's very extensive.
It is. And I don't want to belabor the point too much, but from the standpoint of neurosurgery, we treat the whole gamut of brain, skull base, and pituitary tumors, all strokes and aneurysm care, movement disorders such as Parkinson's disease and essential tremor, ear, nose, and sinonasal pathology. We treat the entirety of all spine disorders, spine degenerative disease, spine tumors, etc., facial pain syndromes, and adult hydrocephalus.
So tell me, if I know we've been talking about stroke a lot, but
Yeah.
what kind of other brain conditions have you been seeing? And tell me, once they're brought in, about the rehab process, because patients can be treated right there as well.
I think that's an amazing point and something that us in the South Bay are really lucky to have. The Neuroscience Institute, our doctors and nurses and providers have been working really closely with the rehab centers in the area, most notably Little Company of Mary Medical Center San Pedro, which has a rehabilitation center that's ranked 1 to 2% in the nation year to year. And it's been incredible. Our doctors work very closely with their doctors, and you can imagine with neurological diseases, recovery is usually pretty extensive, months, weeks to months to even years. And that close contact that we have with our providers at the rehab center has been amazing. And every patient that I've had actually who's come back from these rehab centers, specifically the one I mentioned, has been extremely happy. And I think the result is proof of the partnership going well.
Any unique technology or procedures that are at Providence that really maybe is at the forefront of science that you can talk about?
Yeah, no, definitely. With stroke, for example, we run through and treat the entire gamut of stroke. So any kind of stroke symptom that comes up, we're able to provide down here. My personal specialty and fellowship and training, extra training, has been in complex brain tumors and minimally invasive cranial neurosurgery. And that means we use minimally invasive corridors to reach deep places in the brain. As you may have seen, people who've had brain surgeries in the past and now to a large extent receive large shaves of their head, large craniotomies where large portions of their skulls are removed. We try to focus on really getting to the heart of the matter. For example, eyebrow craniotomies, where we'll make a small incision in your eyebrow and you won't even see the incision after surgery.
Oh, wow.
And using corridors and using cameras and different minimally invasive procedures to minimize the collateral damage to the rest of the brain and really only deal with the pathology at hand.
And this wouldn't all be possible without yourself and your other co-workers. So tell me about your background and some of the other doctors that are at the facility.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, myself personally, I've grown up in Los Angeles. I went to UCLA and USC and training here in Santa Monica for my fellowship. And the majority of the other providers, we have a group of approximately almost 60 providers now who are forming this intensive group who provide this gamut of care. We were originally based out in Santa Monica, and once this need became apparent and we started having these discussions, a lot of our providers and services are being provided down here in the South Bay.
So this institute is one of a kind. We just talked about it, and as you mentioned earlier, it really is meeting a need. Can you talk a little bit more about that, besides just getting to an institute like this during an emergency?
Sure. On top of what I mentioned about these emergencies that come in the hospital, a lot of our outpatient visits have been things where people have needed to come in, they found a problem that needed to be operated on, and they've had to go to all of these different places. And you can imagine, for example, having a brain tumor and then having to go 40 miles from where you live to have the surgery, and then the recovery and the rehab, it takes a tremendous toll on the patient themselves, and even as importantly, most times their family, when they're having to go back and forth every day, seeing their family members, getting them to the different rehab centers, having them come back for follow-up visits. And it's really, we feel, been a need that's been lacking in this community, and we're hoping to provide that.
What are some of the, future goals and hopes for the facility that people can expect? And if they have any questions, where can they go to find more information?
Sure. The information, we have our website at the Pacific Neuroscience Institute.org. If you type it into Google, It comes up quickly. You can find our information about a relationship in Santa Monica, in the South Bay, as I'm talking about, and a whole host of information about the different conditions that we treat.
Okay, and doctor, tell me more about some of the brain conditions you've been seeing more here in the South Bay.
Sure. I tend to go back to stroke because, for the example, for one reason or another, Torrance specifically in the South Bay has a disproportionate number of strokes relative to other areas of LA County. A little company of Mary Medical Center has seen an extensive number of strokes in its history. It averages about a little over 700 a year. The numbers that I'm hearing now are projections, but since we became a comprehensive stroke center, they're projecting about 1,200 strokes or more a year. So that's something that really seems to affect this community for one reason or another. Granted, it's the third most leading cause of death nationwide and the number one cause of disability, but in this area predominantly it seems to be a real need.
Okay, tell me, for viewers at home, what exactly a stroke is. I know it sounds like a science tutorial, but for people who might not know just how devastating this can be.
Sure. The best way to think about it is any interruption of blood flow to the brain, either from a blood clot coming from somewhere else in the body and lodging in the brain, and it disrupts blood to a certain area of the brain, or any kind of disruption that causes bleeding in the brain. When the blood doesn't flow normally in the brain, that part of the brain that's affected becomes affected, and your body gets affected in so many different ways depending on what area of the brain is affected. Difficulty speaking, facial weakness, body weakness, difficulty communicating, difficulty ambulating, things like that.
Okay. Well, doctor, is there anything else you'd like to add about the Institute and about saving lives?
Sure. It's been an incredible experience for me. I started my practice here as the facility was starting to grow, and it's been so rewarding. And the way the city has embraced us has been really touching, and we're hoping to really provide the best kind of neuroscience care here to the population, and we're hoping that there's no need to go anywhere else for the most comprehensive and contemporary neuroscience care.
Well, doctor, thank you so much for your time and coming on NEWSBREAK Live. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Hibah.
Well, that does it for NEWSBREAK Live. Torrance City Council has the night off, and if you ever have news or video that you'd like to share, please email us at newsbreak@torranceca.gov. For Facebook and Twitter users, use hashtag NEWSBREAKLive. Have a great night.